Actually, the best time to effect change is when you're doing very well. My company, when we had a reorganization, at that time we were doing very well. Our profitability was high, and we felt that we can handle the change better if we do it at this point. So it doesn't mean something is wrong, but you want things to even be better.
If there were a way for HR leaders to make changes, implement them in the workplace or elsewhere in a smoother manner, would you like to know how? Today, we are honored with the presence of an HR leader who is also a change leader. I'm talking of nobody else but a highly esteemed HR professional who is also a global trainer and thought leader in HR practices. And he is with me now. I'm talking about Bobby Galvez. And by the way, I know, Bobby, that you have just arrived from two global events where you were the guest speaker, renowned guest speaker because of your expertise. Can you please tell us about these recent events?
Um, Thank you very much, Dinah. I'm very happy to be here joining you because you have been my idol since I was a beginning, in the profession. You've been well known in the industry, and I'm very glad to be joining also Conrad this afternoon to talk about one of the biggest challenges of HR leaders, which is managing change. And as you have mentioned, I've just delivered talks on the changes that we have introduced in our company.
Okay.
One is with the Association for Talent Development. That's the biggest gathering, the international conference held in Florida, USA, where I gave a talk on managing corporate university, an open corporate university, in terms of how we were able to make it happen, in terms of providing an online approach, even before the pandemic happened. So even before the pandemic happened, which forced people to really learn online, we have already been introducing online learning. And another one is in Taiwan, um, also the ATD, Asia Pacific Regional Conference, where I shared our experience on how to use multimedia in cascading the corporate vision, the corporate values, and how we were able to make sure that people would be living the values, and we're able to do this through a non-traditional way of using online methodologies, also because of the pandemic. So we're very happy about the feedback because the conference organizer of the ATD in Taiwan said it was the best paper presented in that conference.
Thank you so much. And by the way, I'm so honored with the presence of my co-host, and he is highly respected also in the HR industry and in the corporate world, really. And he is none other than Conrad Pereras, because Conrad here really has also his own expertise, especially strategic thinking and planning. So Conrad may have something also to say about you.
Yeah, it was interesting for us to know that you have been traveling. But for our listeners and those in the audience, to get the right perspective, Bobby, can you please tell us a little bit more about yourself as a backgrounder for what you're doing?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm now Manila based, but for the past more than 8 years. I've been based in Indonesia as the CHRO, the Chief Human Resource Officer for an Indonesian group of companies. We have more than 40,000 employees,
Wow.
affiliated with about 17 companies
Mhm.
across different industries. We're the biggest producer of canned pineapple globally. We're number one. We're the biggest Indonesian-owned insurance company. We are also the biggest in terms of distribution of fruits. We have a mining company. We have a property company, radio, uh, manufacturing. So cuts across different industries. So
Did you train for this job, Bobby? When you were starting up, were you always in HR?
actually, my background is psychology. I used to teach at the University of the Philippines.
I see.
And then I was invited by a Pittsburgh-based consulting company. So they asked me to join their consulting group that provide training across Asia Pacific. So I was doing training in Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Thailand, India. So the whole Asia Pacific. I used to be their one of the consultants, one of the senior consultants. And then later on, I joined another company as the HR leader, and then also one of the biggest banks locally as the.
Are
Uh,
you still, by the way, teaching at the UP?
yes, I'm currently
Still.
with the faculty of I'm a senior lecturer, the Department of Psychology of the University of the Philippines.
Okay, I think that background connects
Yes,
directly
yes, yeah,
to
indeed,
the
indeed.
HR
So
function.
thank you for giving us this additional background about yourself. And by the way, I am really, really curious about one thing, because one of the most difficult things that people encounter, not only in the workplace, probably in any association as well, is implementing changes. Why? What makes it so difficult for people to accept change?
That's a very good question, Ma'am Dina, no? Why is it people resist change? There are two psychologists, si Richard Taylor and Kassenstein. They have a book called Nods, no? And they've said in their book that people in general have a tendency to stick with their current situation. And this is called the status quo bias. This is very interesting kasi Richard Thaler is a psychologist and yet became famous as a behavioral economist. No? Uh, people have a tendency to stick to what is happening currently because it takes so much effort. No? On top of that, there are other issues like when you introduce change, there is risk, there is uncertainty. You do not know what's going to happen. You do not know whether you are going to remain uh, as competent in that new situation as before. Can you cope? And some of the changes are really threatening. You know, if you used to be the leader in an organization, then you have a reorganization. You used to manage 200, 300 people. Now you're managing much lower number of people. I remember one of my clients before, they decided to implement what we call self-directed work teams.
Self-directed.
Yeah, people managing themselves,
Mhm.
workers, employees managing themselves. So they used to have 9 levels.
Mhm.
From 9, they were able to reduce it into 6, into 5, into 3. Tatlo na lang.
Oh.
Levels, imagine. So many levels were eliminated. My friend, who was the manufacturing director, If you look at the business card, wow, manufacturing director. Then it suddenly changed. He's now not anymore called the manufacturing director. He's now called coach.
And coach.
Yeah, imagine, no?
That's it. Sounds like a demotion for him.
For other people, that would be the perception when he meets his friends and they would ask for his business card and it says coach.
Coach. What do
Are
you
you now
do?
coaching basketball? Is that what you do now? So the change is a bit threatening for a lot of people, and even if the change might not result into loss of a job, which is happens in a lot of times, or some of the changes, the change that really happens confronts your ego, confronts your sense of power. There's a loss of power, there's uncertainty, there's surprise. I remember there's another bank. I was doing the facilitation with change management process. So there, the whole management team was there present. So I asked the team, there was about, if I remember right, about 12 of them, the management team, and I asked, how many of you would be clear about the objective of this change effort? Less than half raised their hands. So the CEO was an expat, so surprised. He never thought that his own management team was not clear about the objectives of change, the purpose of the change. And that happens in a lot of change efforts. The vision of the change was not clear. The purpose of the change is not clear. So it's very difficult for a lot of people to really go through these changes if you do not know what's going to happen.
But I understand whenever you want to effect change, something must be wrong somewhere. That's why you want to change. You want to get away from your comfort zone. Is that the predominant feeling whenever a change is effected?
That's a very interesting concept, no? Yung if there's something wrong somewhere. Yung mere statement of saying there's something wrong somewhere, we can just imagine those who were responsible for that situation.
Yeah, for the
Am I the one responsible for the situation?
yes, yes.
So that's why it's threatening. There's something wrong. So I did something wrong.
Mm.
I'm not doing well. So may ganong perspective.
It forces them to do some self-introspection.
Yeah, yes. Actually, the best time to effect change is when you're doing very well.
Mm.
My company, when we had a reorganization, at that time we were doing very well. Our profitability was high, and we felt that we can handle the change better if we do it at this point. So it doesn't mean something is wrong, but you want things to even be better.
Yeah. But when
Because you have a vision that if you are able to reach this vision, it would even be much better.
but that presupposes that as a result of the change, something good might happen. But in a case where people are in doubt, and when times are good, you can hide some mistakes. But in bad times, you cannot
That's
hide
true.
it.
That's true.
I must agree with your assumption.
That's true. I remember, my company, the pineapple company that we were talking about, the name is Great Giant Pineapple. It's now we're the biggest canned pineapple producer globally.
I see.
One of every 4 canned pineapple is produced
By your
by
company.
that company, Great Giant Pineapple. I facilitated the visioning 2000 2005.
Mhm.
So more than almost 20 years ago, no? At that time, we wanted to be the number one. We're number three at that time. And our production was very far from the leaders, from the two biggest at that time. That when we set the vision, even many of those in management team, even if they agreed with the vision, did not believe that it would be achieved.
I see.
That's it. With the kind of soil that we have, that's impossible. There's doubt. So even for those responsible for change, within them, sometimes there's doubt. That's why you really have to continuously manage change in order for these people to believe in your vision, for them to believe logically,
Yeah.
no, in their mind, for them to believe in their heart in terms of emotions, and to believe in their capability to do it. So it's not enough that you convince them. Kasi a lot of people, for example, health. If you ask a lot of people, do you believe in exercise? A lot of people would say,
Say
yes, 100. If you ask people in a room, 100% would say, yes, I believe in exercise. But you ask them, how many of you exercise regularly?
Almost zero.
Less than half. No, you know what? For why? Because belief does not translate into behavior
Yeah.
automatically.
Or to action, no?
Yeah, even if you believe it, even if you believe it that you must do it, no, even if you think you can do it, it's not sufficient.
Yeah.
No, you have to what I call create the conditions for change. Kaya
Yes.
yung model that I propose is what I call the 3 H's plus 3 C's. 3 H's would be heart, head, and hands. Heart, so win their hearts in terms of their emotions.
Emotions.
Head in terms of win their belief, their rationality. Hands in terms of give them the winning capability. But that is not sufficient.
What are the other C's?
You need to create the conditions for change. That's 3 C's. Create the conditions for change. Kasi kailangan ng ano eh. I'll give you an example. When I introduced online learning back in the company, back in 2015, that was way before the pandemic,
Yeah.
the completion rate for online learning globally was only 17%, 17. Very low, right? Why would you do things? No, completion rate very low. There's a lot of online learning before, but ang baba ng completion rate. Wala halos gumagamit. So that was my challenge. I think that in order to compete globally, we have to access the best training programs globally. And this is accessible to the best universities globally. That is course through what we call the MOOC, the Massive Open Online Learning courses. This EDX, Coursera, provided by the top universities, Harvard, Stanford. But the completion rate very low. So it's not enough that they are convinced. So what we did, slowly, when we announced we're going to do online learning, even some of the IT people said, where's the venue? Online eh. So naghanap siya ng venue.
Yeah. Wherever you are.
So kailangan ng transition. So
Yeah.
the first meeting would be like a real classroom. They were all asked to come together like a classroom. There's a laptop in front of them. So even if they are handheld, how to enroll online, how to study online, may feeling of being in the traditional classroom. They're all there, but studying by themselves and doing it online, not through a professor in front. So that's a condition of change. Tapos, if they do it on their own, we ask them, sige, when you go back to your workplaces, put a headphone so that others will not disturb you. Tapos we put it in their calendar so that there will be no meetings scheduled on their study hours. Parang traditional classroom, di ba? We told the bosses, you cannot disturb them during their online learning. So those are the conditions of change that must be present. So it's not enough that you win their heart, you win their mind, their head, and you empower them in terms of competencies.
Yeah.
You need to create the conditions for change.
I want to ask you, Bobby.
Yeah.
Normally, whenever there is a big change in the corporate world or in any corporation, it is triggered by the person at the top.
Most of the time.
And it is important that there is clarity why you want to do the change. As an HR practitioner, what is your role in supporting the CEO or the president or the chairman of the board to effect this change?
That's a very good question. Kasi what you're saying, clarity of the vision. That's why our recommendation, there should be a clear picture of success. Otherwise, we call it PICOS. No, picture of success.
Picture
PICOS.
of success.
Kailangan clear yun eh. What's going to happen if you implement this? Can you visualize it? If you cannot visualize it, uncertainty comes in.
Is it important that they can also picture the consequences of inaction?
That's the consequences of inaction. That's very important when you're trying to win their mind, the head, di ba?
Okay.
So logical yon.
Yeah.
Doon sa head,
Uh,
di ba?
if you know
That's
what's
true.
if you know what's good for you.
Oh, yeah. Pero kasi yung consequences in the future unreal eh. Until it happens, it's unreal.
Yeah. It's imagine.
Oh, it's imagine. Oh, hindi naman siguro. The power of stasis. No, babalik ko ulit doon. The power, hindi naman siguro. So, kahit na logically you believe, emotionally, you don't buy it eh.
Okay.
But yung picture of success, pag nakita mo, it could work. It's possible.
But being the link between management and the employees,
Yeah.
the role of the HR becomes even more important, isn't it?
That's true. Actually, the role of the HR is primarily setting the narrative eh.
I see.
I mean, what's your story? What's the story? What is it we want to happen? What's going to happen? Kaya yung values change, for example, you want people to engage in new behaviors. It's not enough that you provide training on how to engage in those behaviors. You need to tell stories of real stories of people who have engaged in such behaviors and this has happened. Madami naman example. I'm sure a lot of companies, like for example, your value is now innovation. So you gather stories of people in your organization that has shown innovation and this has happened. Okay. You want people to exhibit behaviors that put customers first. You want to create a customer-centric organization. In theory, okay yan eh.
Yeah, that's right.
But, madaming doubters, di ba? Totoo ba yan? Customer is always right. Baka hindi naman totoo. So, there would be people, I'm sure, in your organization that has gone out of their way to provide very good service and this has happened. So, you gather those samples. Kasi sila yung testimony
Yeah.
of why it's effective, why it's a good way of doing it. So, people could forget the rationale, but the stories would remain in their heads.
Yeah.
So, yung HR would be a storyteller.
I see. Which
So-
means you have to be a good communicator, and that brings me to the skills that people develop in public speaking. And
Yeah.
Is it valuable
It is very valuable. It is one of the most valuable competencies of HR leaders.
The power to communicate.
Yeah, the power to speak clearly,
Mhm.
succinctly, simply.
Yeah.
Clarity is very important. Not
I-
big words, but the ability to provide examples.
Examples.
Thank
Yes,
you
madam.
thank you for pointing that out, no, Conrad. So this is where the dilemma lies.
Mm.
Do you see the HR to be the sumbungan ng bayan?
Maganda yung point na yung sumbungan ng bayan. Actually, there are three things that I pick up from what Ma'am Dina is saying. First, what she is saying, no, na the role of the HR is to know the pain points
Mhm,
of the targets of change.
mhm, mhm.
The term that we use there is what we call dialogic communication.
Mhm,
From the
Meaning
term
to-
dialogue.
Two-way.
mhm,
Dialogue, yeah. You have to empathize with those who would be affected by change and know their pain points.
Mhm.
What are the concerns? Why are they fearing the change?
mhm.
Why are they not willing to speak up? So, importanteng skill yon
Yes.
of the HR leader. They should be able to engage in dialogic communication. Second, the ma- many HR leaders would be aware of their other traditional HR roles, no, personal administration, for example, or traditional training.
Mhm.
But many of them don't have any training or
Mhm.
orientation and background on change management,
Okay.
Mhm.
which is not easy.
Yeah.
Kasi there would always be people who would be resisting change.
Yeah.
And the worst time to manage it is once you are already at the middle of it.
Mhm.
What is important is that you listen to them even before the main change happens.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That means you talk to those people, and we call them stakeholders,
Mhm.
who was responsible previously
Mhm.
for the task that would be changed. You need to talk to this person because this person would feel he or she is being threatened.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
No? Yung sa Pilipino, ang tawag natin dito, gapang.
Oh.
Kinakausap mo na kagad yung mga taong maapektuhan.
Yes. Oh.
Even before mag-announce ka na ganito yung mga gagawin, ganito.
You have to do
Yeah,
some pre-selling.
pre-selling na and feeling the water,
Yeah,
floating, what
yes.
can happen.
Oh.
So, yung mga ganon, ginagawa na on the side,
But
Oh.
in,
not in the open.
but in that respect, Bobby, this is that being gender insensitive. Is it is it better or much better for a woman to be occupying that role in HR versus a man because of the sensitivity in communication?
Okay, that's a very good question. What I would like to focus on is the capability of the HR person to have what we call organizational sensitivity.
Mm,
Man, woman,
doesn't matter.
doesn't matter. Kasi even if you're a woman, if you are poor in organizational sensitivity, medyo may pagkamanhid, di ba?
Mm.
So,
No, naisip ko lang yung a woman being motherly. And if you look
True,
at HR
true.
as a sumbungan ng bayan,
yes.
it's much easier to communicate
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
troubles.
I think they have an advantage. But again, this is a skill. This is skill that you learn while navigating the corporate jungle.
Yeah.
Yung organizational sensitivity mo, that you know who are the people in the organization na for one reason or another, sila palagi nagkakalat ng mga kwentong mali.
But just as a
Yung mga
reality
ganon.
check, Ma'am Diana, in your organizations, alimang mas marami? Women versus men HR practitioners?
For
TIMA, for
HR?
example. Yeah.
It looks to me like now more and more it's the women
Yeah.
The
who are
women.
taking charge,
Yeah.
really.
Karamihan ngayon ng HR leaders
Women.
babae.
Oh,
I see.
and they seem to be more expressive as well.
I see.
But thank you so much for clearing my mind, because you know what, Bobby? You have really cleared up my mind. Why? Why did they find it so difficult? The HR people themselves don't have that capacity for communication, communicating with each other.
Kasi ano yun it's a competency that could be learned.
Yeah, it's competency.
And
It's not inborn.
yeah, everybody has to learn. None of us naman, when we graduated from the university, already knows all these things.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if you were a student leader, like I was a student leader back in the university. When I graduated, akala ko okay na Hindi pala, no? So, iba yung corporate situation that there's a lot of things that you have to learn as a leader. And one of that is really listening ears.
Listening,
Yes, yes.
It's very difficult to listen for many leaders kasi many leaders think na alam nila lahat ang sagot
Yeah.
Yes.
They
yes.
know all the answers. Yeah,
Yes.
alam ko na yan.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, yun, it's a challenge. If you're a change manager and you have this perspective na alam mo na, then you'll not be able to anticipate the simple desires of your employees. For example, we were moving to a new office and it's located in Central Business District, so it's mahal doon.
Traffic.
Yung sa kanila, pag hindi mo tinanong, malalaman mo yung concern nila. Paano yan? Mahal na yung pagkain doon. So if you are not able to anticipate that, there's a lingering fear, resistance on a simple day-to-day challenge for them.
Yeah.
Saan sila kakain ng mas affordable if you are already moving to a more expensive area of the city?
Which also implies that you have to look at their compensation. No?
Yeah. So what we did, put up a cafeteria, subsidized cafeteria for the ordinary employees so that you are able to address.
Yeah.
Some of them are simple, but sometimes because many of us don't eat in the cafeteria kasi leaders ka na doon sa managers.
Yes. You need to,
Hindi mo napapansin
you have to have an executive lounge which divides the upper ups.
Yeah,
with the rank
so
and file.
organizational sensitivity
Yeah.
is a very important skill. The listening ear, knowing what's happening in the organization, and like what Ma'am Dinah is saying, the courage to speak up. Your boss, the CEO, relies on you.
Yeah.
He expects you to know how the employees feel, and the CEO expects you to tell him how do they feel.
Yeah.
You do not
And that's
you
very,
do not need to always have all the solutions, but first you need to know what's happening.
I want to keep up to follow up on Ma'am Dinah's intimation about culture change. In one of the sessions that I've attended, the question was asked, whose responsibility is it to manage the culture or affect a new culture? Is it the CEO or is it the HR? And judging from the reactions, HR people think it is their responsibility, whereas the CEOs take it as their primary responsibility. What is your take on this?
Okay, there is a lot of researches that have already shown that one, you cannot really change the culture. So when you talk about culture change, that's a very big undertaking. So you cannot really change the essence of the culture of that organization, especially if the organization has been existing for a very long time.
Yeah, that's right.
The ways
With
of
very old people.
even the new ones who have joined must have absorbed it already
Yeah.
because they
Well,
this
By
is the,
osmosis.
they know that this is what is effective. So in culture change, what we recommend is that you don't really change the culture. You only change an aspect that you can build on from the existing culture. then you emphasize it. You cannot simply change everything. It doesn't happen. It will never happen. So you just pick what they're good at and then build on it. So that they don't find the change threatening. And they feel sense of comfort in terms of what you are introducing. Kasi there's familiarity And that familiarity comforts the mind. So it should not be entirely new, even if it's new. And it could be presented like a challenge because they have been successful already in some other ways.
Yeah.
But so you have to build. So yung sa question, who's responsible for it? The leader, of course, is the model, the one at the top, no? A very good example there, it would be Southwest Airlines, no? Si Herb Kelleher, talagang exhibits what customer centricity is. And you will find it in also a lot of many successful organizations, like when you talk about malasakit as a culture.
Yeah.
It's a very good concept for Filipinos, but malasakit has a cost.
Yeah, there's a cost.
That means you're spending the company money on the employees. And when it's already budget, you have decision rights. Who can approve a certain amount of... So talagang yung decision doon, the authority lies at the top.
I see.
But making it happen
Belongs to the...
actually resides on the middle leaders, the supervisors. Why? Hindi naman kasi HR nakikita everyday
Yeah.
Ang nakikita everyday, mga bosses nila, yung mga supervisors,
Yes.
yung middle managers and supervisors. So, when you are a change manager, you work on the middle.
Middle manager.
The middle managers.
To
the
perform HR
supervisors.
functions.
No, in terms of culture.
Culture.
Culture building. That means what kind of behaviors should they be exhibiting? What kind of decisions should they be making? For example, I remember there's a hotel. They want to make it more customer focus. May isang nagmamadaling yung isang hotel na ito has a separate line of cars that will bring you around the city and a separate set that will bring them to the airport. Okay. And then there's this one customer, hotel guest. Paglabas niya, pasok siya kagad dun sa kotse. Come on, bring me to the airport immediately. And sinakyan niya for the city.
I see.
Napagalitan yung driver. Sabi mo, lumipat ng sasakyan. Di ba? Yung, nasa na yung customer centricity because you're letting policy override a supposed value of the company, which is customer centricity. May class between this. So, may class between a policy, may class between decision making. Ito yung tao nag-decide in favor of the customer.
So what do you do with a very good HR practitioner who seems to usurp the role of the CEO in terms of affecting change in the culture of the organization?
I'm not too sure if HR can really
Usurp it.
Kasi
Yeah.
the authority is always the CEO.
Yes.
And the authority, especially in the respective departments, lies with the line people. Kaya ako, I have to always operate through the line leaders.
So what kind of visibility do you advise in the corporate?
The role of the HR leader is to provide competency for the rest of the line managers to manage the change effectively. Provide them training, provide them coaching, coach them on how to tell stories, coach them on how to explain the change objectives.
So you see the role of the HR to be just an enabler, not to
It is
take center stage.
Primarily as an enabler. Kasi if they win, you win.
Yeah.
If they win, you win.
Which brings me to the more important topic. What are the chances of an HR, given all those qualities, to become the CEO?
Actually, one of my previous companies, I was an HR leader, and then I was appointed CEO of one of the affiliates.
Oh,
One of the affiliates has been in the red for 3 years.
mhm.
So the owner said, Bobby, you take over. So I was appointed president.
Oh,
Anong background ko? I was HR leader, but I was appointed as president of one of the affiliates, which was already in the red for 3 years.
mhm.
Within 1 year, I was able to cut losses by 80%. By the first month of the first year, that following year, I was able to turn it around.
Wow.
It's a turnaround
And
story.
you're not a finance guy.
I'm not a finance guy. I'm an HR person. My background is psychology.
I must say that exceptional. It doesn't happen to everybody.
Well, I think the advantage of HR, may ano may sinabi sa akin nung when I joined the company, the owner said, Bobby, sabi niya sa akin, I do not need you to know all the answers.
Uh-huh.
Sabi niya, Bobby, I need you to know whom to ask.
I see. Okay.
So, kailangan, alam mo, hindi mo alam eh.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
And you should know when to ask and ask for help.
where to get the help.
Where to get the help.
And
Kasi, the business, drill bits. What did I know about drill bits? What did I know about marble, cutting marble? It's a joint venture with a Belgian company. And yet, I was able to turn it around.
from experience, kasi if you're a manufacturing undertaking, the engineers take the leadership position. If you're a finance company, the CPAs, the finance people will take over. But I've never seen a company where they pick the HR in any industry to
Yes,
take a
yes.
leadership position.
Right. Yes.
Meron naman. I think in PMAP, we have some people in HR who are now heads of the companies, manning the companies. Meron naman.
My impression was once you're in HR, you grow with a job until you reach the end, and then you retire.
Right.
I guess it's a case-to-case
The
basis.
advantage for HR is that you see all aspects,
Yeah.
all aspects, and the willingness to learn.
Yeah.
Like, I think I learned enough about logistics. I
Oo.
learned enough. For example, no, in HR we manage all the training programs,
Uh-huh.
especially quality improvement, productivity improvement. I used to run training programs on 5S, Kaizen, TQM,
Yeah.
TPM, no, Six Sigma. So all the productivity
Tools.
tools, no. In fact, in Indonesia, I manage the Center of Excellence in Manufacturing. I make sure that all the companies in the group are practicing, implementing the best practices in manufacturing globally. And then I also coordinate the Center of Excellence in Marketing.
Mm.
In marketing, because we want them to be able to provide and use the latest in marketing methodologies in order to what we call build brand love.
Mm.
So ano yun? It's something that could be learned as long as you are willing to listen and ask questions.
Yeah.
But do you have to be a good guy and be a friend to everybody to succeed in the HR
Ay,
function?
sabi uli ng isang boss ko, sabi niya, Bobby, sabi niya, pag walang nagalit sa'yo, dami kong nag-redundancy, nag-retrenchment no? Pag sabi niya, pag walang nagalit sa'yo, baka may hindi ka ginagawang tama. May masasagasan at masasagasan ka.
Sasagasahan ka.
But there's a right way of doing it. In HR, we have a principle. You have to be firm but fair. Firm but fair. You always have to go through the correct process in ensuring that you are fair to all people concerned.
Yeah.
You are firm, but fair.
You've been in overseas assignments. I assume you also practiced your profession in the Philippines. Between or among these countries, what kind of change do you think is the most difficult to manage? Is it redundancy program, right sizing?
I've done all of those no?
Mhm.
Babalik ako dun sa power of stasis.
Mhm, mhm,
If you do not create the conditions for change,
mhm.
the tendency is people to slide back
Mhm.
Uh-huh,
to what they're doing. Like we were implementing agile,
uh-huh,
so people are supposed to work cross-functional and use sprints, in introducing changes. But because the traditional structures exist, there's a tendency to slide back to the traditional way. So, yung mga ganoon, kailangan sensitive ka dun sa structures that you have to change in order to make change happen. And it's not easy
Yeah.
to decide what structures should change and what structures should remain. What's the best structure? Because sometimes the structure that you choose will be temporary, transitional. So, yung mga ganong OD decisions, sometimes you cannot really say that this is the correct way in terms of OD, in terms of structure, because there could always be a better way of doing it. Kasi you're experimenting. And it's part of the process, experimentation. And the principle in Agile is that you fail quickly, you fail fast. It's principle nga doon, if you are not failing, then you might not be introducing changes.
Yeah.
So,
Sabi ka nila, if you're not
Oo.
making waves,
Oo.
you're standing still.
Oo.
so yun. Medyo mahirap yung OD
Oo.
aspect.
I really took note of something that you mentioned kanina, no, Abby? And I want you to clarify that kasi medyo I was kind of struck. You cannot really, truly expect to just change a culture.
No.
So, meaning you can only expect changes here and there, but not like that.
You can change some aspects.
Okay.
You can change some. You can build on what is already there.
Okay.
Some of the core.
Uh-uh.
So, for example, you want the organization to be more customer focused, customer centric. For us, for example, we're good in manufacturing. We're a tall manufacturer for a very long time, but we're not very good in marketing. And we want the organization to be more marketing focused.
Marketing oriented.
Okay.
You cannot simply change the nature of the company, di ba?
Okay.
But you can slowly build on their capability to understand what process.
Okay.
Because we're good in manufacturing, we know process. We understand that there should be clear process of doing things. They understand. So we build on that process in order to reorient the capability of the people. That means if you need scripts, you will buy the scripts. Kasi sa manufacturing, step by step by step. So clarity of steps. But reminders. Yung mga ganoon, we have to be very sensitive in terms of what do they hold dearly and what they can build on. Sa HR din kasi may what they call as the positive view of the employee, no? That means instead of focusing on the weaknesses, you focus on the strength. Kaya kami, we don't have development plans for employees. Kasi development plans focus on the weakness. What would you correct? What we have are success plans.
Yeah.
We focus on what will make you successful. So that is what we do. We focus on what will make you successful. So
and you have to approach each person, assess each person.
Eventually, yes. But kailangan mo kasi ng critical mass. And who will be your critical mass? Your high potentials.
Yeah. But
When you do your normal curve,
Oo.
you have the top 20%.
Okay.
So the critical mass should be able to have the skills and competencies that will make them successful. Kasi if they become successful, they also become successful as leaders eh.
Mm-mm.
So may multiplier effect.
Mm.
So they manage their people also better. Then the people are happier. They led by competent people.
when you said you cannot change the culture overnight, I remember my first company, which is the largest commercial bank. When the new CEO came, he replaced a traditional CEO. He started wearing Husi Barong, where everybody then was that only the president and cabinet secretaries were wearing barong. But even the junior executive, including me, started to wear Husi. And to wear Husi is not easy, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to dry clean it.
Yeah.
And then eventually the CEO started to smoke pipes. So everybody changed from smoking cigarette, converting it to pipe smoking. In that particular respect, which is external, no? I saw the immediate and abrupt change. How important is following the leader with respect to behavioral change?
Behavior modeling.
So it has to start
Behavior
from the top,
modeling. People follow what they see,
what they see.
no, not what you say.
Yeah, that's right.
It's what they see. No,
Mm.
they know eh. If you say this is important, but you don't allocate budget to it, it will
So,
never happen.
it's a delusion.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
So, pag sinabing ito importante, but you do not provide training for people in it,
Mm.
hindi importante. Kasi the test is always, do you provide a budget for it?
Yes.
In terms of building the competencies of people to make the change happen.
The budget states the priority.
Oo.
Yeah, kasi for them to navigate the change, they will need new competencies.
Yeah.
Oo.
They will need training. They will
Yeah.
need coaching. They will need mentoring. So you have to budget for that.
Mm.
Bobby, I've been out of the corporate world for quite a while.
Mm-mm.
And I used to be a member of the PMAP,
Yes,
People
yes.
Management Association.
Oo.
What do you see as the latest trends in the HR function?
There's much ado about AI,
Okay.
but AI for me is just a tool.
Yes, yes.
What we started back in our company is what I call the democratization
Okay.
of learning production.
What does that
it
mean?
mean? Dati kasi, ang gumagawa ng training programs, HR, nagpo-produce, ganun. And back then, I introduced what I call the one-point training program. One point, that means within 10 minutes, the supervisor will train his subordinates on a single topic. Kasi kahit na nag-training yan, makakalimutan yan eh.
Yeah.
So kailangan yan repetition. And who's going to do the repetition? The supervisor.
Supervisor.
So I said, okay, the task of supervisor is to train his people. For clarity, they train only on one point, not more than 10 minutes. They explain it, they show it's done, they ask the people to do it. 10 minutes. Eh ngayon, gano'ng kahaba yung TikTok? Less than 2 minutes? Ay, ang gagaling na mga gawa sa TikTok. In less than 2 minutes, na-explain nila yung topic. Ano gagawin? When people now want to see how it's done, where did they go? YouTube. But it should not be long. So, ang tawag dito, micro-learning.
I see. Small
Very
pieces.
short. Instead of 10 minutes, 2 minutes. And what do? We ask the employees to produce it. Kasi they can produce TikTok. Ordinary citizens can produce TikTok.
They can also.
Subukan namin. Our employees can take the video of how they're doing, let's say, pineapple. Paano mag-cut ng pineapple? Or shoes. Paano mag-ayos ng shoes? Alam nila ginagawa nila. They take a video, they explain.
Parang do it yourself.
It doesn't have to be HR. So the learning production is now confined with HR. You now democratize
Oh,
the production of learning, building on the capabilities of your people below. People at the I think that's the focus.
oh.
Yung AI matututunan yan mapag-aaralan. But harnessing the skills of our employees at the bottom, I think that's the biggest challenge.
Mm.
So you don't believe AI will replace HR functions in the near future?
Pang sinabi na yan noon may computer, may replace na yung computer, may Excel, same story. Same old Ganun din yun it's a tool that can be used, no? So what is important, you train people. When AI became the first thing that I did, I gathered all my HR people across the 17 companies, explain what is AI. How can you use this better? So they could now generate job descriptions immediately, quickly. They could generate ads quickly. They makes their lives a lot easier. So same old. So kaya matututunan. It's just another tool. Parang nung panahon noon where we're trying to learn new
technologies.
But harnessing the skills of the people, that's
related to that. In one of my sober moments, I asked ChatGPT, "How do you feel today?" And you know what the answer was? "I'm sorry, I have no feelings. I'm just a machine."
you have to validate actually. When I use ChatGPT for research, I find out some of the references do not exist.
Yes.
Sabi ko, binabola mo yata ako The references you provided do not exist. Sabi niya, I'm sorry. I apologize.
And some data are obsolete.
Apologize. So, kailangan mo din ng human
Yeah,
intervention.
right. But that answers a lot of questions. Before I came over, I was mulling several things. But you have made it so much clearer.
Thank you.
Different aspects of change. Especially talaga what really intrigued me was the culture change.
Culture change. So, Bobby, what is life after retirement?
So this is I have several advocacies now, and this is what I want to do. Of course, one is the doing consulting now on change management and succession planning. But my other advocacy is what we call Psikologiyang Pilipino or Filipino psychology.
What does that mean?
For a very long time kasi there's a misconception of who the Filipino is, what are the values of the Filipinos, which I think should be corrected. And then I have a group that works on the Filipino way of managing, focusing on the importance of diwa and kapwa. Yung
Diwa.
concept kasi ng kapwa, shared humanity
Okay. And diwa.
Diwa is the spirit-led organization.
I see.
So in combination ng respect of your fellow human being as respect of the dignity of the human being as an approach in management, I think that's distinctly a Filipino way of managing to kapwa. Kasi may kapwa tao ka. Yung kapwa does not refer to self The kapwa does not refer to others. It's shared humanity. Kapwa tayo, we exist together. So if you believe that isa kapwa tao mo, you respect him, you respect the dignity. No, you do not practice exploitative methods, abusive methods, if you believe that your kapwa is a human being. So that is an advocacy now that we have.
But are you doing this in the spirit of pursuing a mission with a margin, or you're doing this out of the kindness of your heart? Want to help?
I think in a lot of situations we're able to provide assistance. like I'm teaching now, back in UP,
Mm.
on Philippine psychology.
Mhm.
You know the pay, no? Oh.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. I
Right.
heard. Yes.
Taxi money.
Yeah, yeah.
So, uh, it's really an advocacy,
Mm.
because what we want to do is to show that there are many Filipino companies
Mm.
that are exhibiting a lot of concern for their employees.
Mhm.
Mm.
There are companies, Filipino companies, na uh, paying living wage, not minimum wage,
Mhm.
paying living wage so that they could support their employees. Company like Pandayan, it's a retailer of books and office supplies. Ang dream ng bawat empleyado is to have their own house.
Mm.
So they do a lot of things to enable the employees to have their own house.
Mm.
And they do everything so that the employees can grow and develop their faculties. No? So there are many companies like this that so we want to advocate so that more companies practice this way of managing.
Um, I was hoping that I can ask the last
Yeah, please.
question.
Please. Oh,
But
please.
the question that I've always wanted to
Yes.
ask you, Bobby, is in the 70s and in the 80s,
Mhm.
countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, and the neighboring countries, they've always looked at Filipinos as good providers of skills, which they do not have.
Mhm.
There are 350 million Indonesians.
Mhm.
Why do they think they turn to Filipinos like you as an expat
Mhm.
to fill that gap?
Actually, I was in Indonesia 2005 to 2009. That was the first assignment before I went back to the Philippines and then came back to Indonesia again. And it was during that period that Indonesia overtook the Philippines in terms of per capita income.
Mm.
So they're now ahead, no? And at that time kasi there was a time under the Suharto dictatorship where they didn't allow foreign universities to exist. They didn't allow teaching of English, for example.
Mm.
So the education was quite behind at that time. But when Suharto was overthrown, they allowed foreign investment to come in, democratization of learning. So tumaas yung standards of education din sa ano. There's a lot of teachers now, Filipino teachers in Indonesia, teaching. I think that is something that we should really ponder, how to make sure that the standards of education in the Philippines would be at par globally. Kasi sa ngayon, based on all the assessment,
Mhm.
we're at the bottom
The bottom, no?
Kasi hindi talaga nabigyan ng importance for quite a long time.
Pero may ano ba, may distinct advantage yung Pilipino, whether in Southeast Asia or in the developed world, US, Europe.
I think in terms of, again, in kapwa
Oh. In terms of HR.
ganun din kasi yung we are naturally respectful of others.
Mm.
That's why we are preferred employees because especially for customer contact, because we show genuine concern of other people.
Our voices matter.
Yeah, even for managers, we show genuine concern of our employees. No, we are more malasakit.
And that's true of our nurses,
Yeah.
no?
Nurses or even professionals, leaders. I think because of the culture of kapwa, we take care of others. We take care of our fellow men. Yung ganong concern. Walang masamang tinapay na
Right.
na may nais kang masama. Hindi gano'n Yung lagi may sincerity in the heart
Yes.
of the Filipino. I think that's
It's a
that's
distinct
big,
advantage.
that's a
All
big
right. So
advantage.
before we end, we would like Bobby an opportunity to say some what we call words of wisdom to our viewers,
words of wisdom.
Siyempre, after all these years of really focusing on this, your expertise.
Mm.
I know there are a lot of viewers out there na
Mm.
hungry for your tips. Yung bang that they can do easily. Not so, yung bang they don't have to spend years to study and research.
Give them the shortcut.
Oh,
Shortcut. The shortcut is empathy.
Mm,
Every HR practitioner should exhibit empathy. Yung empathy allow you to listen to the concerns of the employees, concerns of the other people who would be affected by change, whether they are ordinary employees, fellow managers, and that. Because your perception, you cannot assume that your perception is the only perception and the correct perception. You need to always bring in the perspective of other people
right.
who would be looking at it from a different perspective.
Mm.
All of us view everything within our own lenses, within our own set of experiences. So the way that you are viewing it might be different from yours, might be different. So the HR leader must be able to empathize, listen, find out what are those perspectives. And only by listening to those that you know what's happening in the
Yeah.
organization.
Wow, am I glad I invited you and you accepted the invitation, because ladies and gentlemen, I know a lot of you viewers out there have been waiting for something like this. No? Practical way of learning, really. And of course, you just heard from Bobby Galvez, our change leader, who's also an HR leader, who continues to share his knowledge and skills. And this is episode 10 of season 16 of our Leaders Edge. And by the way, next week we have Dr. Renato Noy Joseph, who will talk about heat-related illnesses, how to
Wow.
prevent getting
Nice.
how
Heat
to
stroke.
prevent getting
That's very
Yes,
important.
yeah, right. So, and we're very happy that he accepted the invitation. So, watch out for that next week. It will be episode 11, season 16, Dr. Renato Noy Joseph. And for people out there, if you want to make sure you can have all these varied topics that are really, really very useful to our everyday lives, click like and subscribe our channel, The Leaders Edge by SEAST by STBI. And remember, learning is a never-ending journey with limitless vistas. Thank you to our guest speaker,
Thank you,
Bobby
thank you.
Galvez,
Thank
and
you for
to my
inviting me.
co-host,
Thank you.
oh yeah, the also totally knowledgeable and very generous Conrad, Conrad Pereira.